The running game, to me, sets the standard of your offensive football team. Pro football is a tough physical game, and I think teams that run the ball real well establish that they are a tough physical football team. Well, they get the big plays maybe more through the passing game, but they establish the mental outlook and the mental attitude of their football by reestablishing the line of scrimmage on the defensive side of the ball. You really start a running tack from the ball out, starting over your center and your two guards and working out. We like to run inside because it's a positive gain type play. You can run inside with as many ways inside and variations of blocking as you can run outside. First off, you start with base blocking or man-to-man, one-on-one type blocking. Then they usually go into a full blocking where the center blocks one way and the offside guard pulls up through the hole, say against the even defense. Against the odd defenses, they'll see the defensive nose guard double teamed by a center and guard, and the other guard pull up and inside on the onside linebacker and block him. You'll all see the other kind of blocking is the finesse blocking, where they pull a lineman and run right where they pulled him. Sometimes you try to take advantage of the great reading defensive lineman by misleading him, giving him a counter read. They call it influence blocking. You'll see what we call sucker blocking, where a lineman will pull one way and then a back will come in and block the man as he chases the lineman pulling. The trapping game really infers that you're going to, like a mousetrap traps a mouse, an offensive lineman's going to trap a defensive lineman. It really is a descriptive term. A guy is getting trapped just like a mouse gets mousetrapped. Someone coming from the offside whacks you rather than the man right in front of you. And you open the hole vertically a little bit rather than laterally. We speak of off tackle as being in your tight end tackle area. We try to run in there by power blocking with our tight end and our tackle on one defensive end and trapping with the fullback on the outside linebacker and running up in there that way. But it is tough to do. Maybe tougher than running inside. Many blocking schemes are called on the line of scrimmage. We have terminology and they work out their own terms.
Area.
Set! 339!
Scoop! Fire!
We make calls when we're bluffing calls.
Area.
We make calls when we're actually using the call being made.
Switch!
You really have to communicate to be a good offensive lineman.
He scored! He scored! He's got it! He scored!
The sweep game is not as it used to be in the old Vince Lombardi Green Bay Packer day.
If you look at this play, what we're trying to get is a seal here and a seal here and try to run this play in the alley.
You don't see many teams just taking the ball with both guards pulling and a fullback, what we say bob blocking a linebacker, and the halfback, far back, carrying the ball outside. It's getting tough to do. What you see now is people lining up in a variety of formations and using wingbacks and men in motion to come back in and shut the door on the inside-out pursuit. Get the key block that cuts the defense, so all of a sudden there's a pile inside and the running back's outside. You see a lot of I formation teams now with the ball being tossed out there and keeping the line of scrimmage clean with no penetration, allowing a good running back to then run to daylight outside. which is a little bit different concept, and actually I think came from college football. If I were a fan going to a pro football game, I'd start studying the offensive line play. I'd study the two offensive guards. Usually if a team is going to run right at people, those guards are coming straight off the ball. If they're going to trap, then you'll see one guard pull and head in the direction that they're going to trap. If we're going outside, you'll see that the onside guard coming outside in front of a running back. But if they'll watch those two guards, most of the time they'll end up knowing where the ball's going.
Well, the importance of the passing game is what makes, I think, the National Football League, unique. I think it's the thing that enables us to have the wide open game that we play today. It's an integral part of the game. Almost everything in the NFL, from an offensive standpoint, is determined by the formation that you're in. Anytime you see a split backfield, then you know that the team is in their strongest passing formation. Now, they'll pass from other formations like the I formation, or they'll pass with the fullback in position. But about 90%, when you're in a sure passing down, look for the split backfield. When we set up our pass routes for our receivers, we set up what is known as a passing tree. The reason we do that, it looks like a tree. If we want Drew Pearson, for example, to go down and run a 5-yard square out to the sideline, we call this an out. If we want him to go down, say, 7 or 8 yards, we'll call it a square out. If we want him to go to 15 yards and run the sideline, we call it a sideline route. It's the same way going inside. And he'll go down about 3 or 4 steps, and then he'll zoom in. And if he wants to run it down in, he may go 5 steps and break at a certain angle, 30 or 45 degrees. Or if you want him to run a turn in, he'll go to 15 and come back to the quarterback on the inside and move. Or a post move, obviously he's going to the post. If he's going to the flag, he's going to the corner. And when it all ends up, you got a tree. Not a very good-looking tree, but you got a lot of branches going every direction. The passing game is dictated by the pass defenses that are being played. Whether it's a zone or whether it's a man-to-man coverage. Remember, in the NFL, when we go into a ball game, we're working probably against 14, 15 different pass defenses during that game. So what you do, you design a pattern, which means everybody has a designated route to run. The quarterback then must key the pass defense and go to the receiver that's beating that defense. One of them will always be open if you can just move one of them the right direction. All he's doing is timing himself up with the receiver. If the receiver's going short, you'll see him 3 to 5 yards back. He'll come back there quick, throw the ball. The receiver's going deep, you'll see him back at 10 yards and throw the ball. Now, when you're running a pattern that's breaking into a zone defense, which means you have to work into the seams between the short defenders and the deep defenders, then the timing is not as important as the anticipation is. Because in order to throw a ball into the zone, you must throw before he gets into the seam between defensive men. You try to anticipate the receiver coming into a seam, and you throw the ball into the seam before he gets there, and you usually do it. There are gimmick plays, say like a halfback pass. We still have what we call the old flea flickers. A lot of times you can fool a zone defense because most zones, they're schooled to read run or pass. If they can read the run, they'll start up. And then that's about the only time a gimmick play will get behind them.
White knuckle time at RFK Stadium. Livingston, the quarterback. 1:22 left at the 36-yard line. Here's the reverse. It's the flea flicker. It's back to Livingston. He goes long down the near sideline. Brunson right over the on the flea flicker. Touchdown for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Well, I don't think it's ever any limit to innovation or pass offense. I've seen it since I've been in the league from the 50s where we had probably 2 pass defenses. And I've seen it develop into zones now. And our zone attack is getting better and better. And I think this is what will happen in the future. They'll continue to try to spread the zones out with more receivers so your seams are wider between defenders. And when they do, they're going to be more effective. So I think the ability to be successful in the passing game in certain situations is the thing that enables you to have a good offense.
He looks downfield, has time, cranks it, going long for Swan. He's got it. Swan, touchdown, Pittsburgh.
In my opinion, the kicking teams are exactly equal in importance to the offense and the defensive games. We feel that a team which is very strong offensively and very strong defensively and is weak in the kicking game is 66% of a football team, and that isn't good enough to win in this league. It certainly isn't good enough to win a championship. First of all, when I talk about good kicking teams, I'm never talking about the kickers. We assume that they're very proficient and they're very good, and on some teams they're better than the other. The teams in the league that have good kicking teams have great performers on the coverage units and on the return units. All we really tell them to do is to run hard, maintain a general relationship to the other people, and swing the gate closed. If there's a break in your coverage at any time, you're in trouble. Usually someone left their lane or someone missed a tackle. So there's usually some type of breakdown. And believe me, a good punt return, the dangerous part of it is those first 3 to 5 yards. Once the great returner can do what he wants to do during that period of time, he becomes an all-the-way threat. We do not think in terms of going all the way on a kickoff return. That may be negative. We use the 30-yard line, both when we're returning kickoffs and when we're covering kickoffs, and say that is the break point on success or lack of success in returning it. We are trying to ram the ball very hard and tough with a well-disciplined wedge out to at least the 30-yard line. It's the job of the wedge to move forward in unison with no specific assignment of player whom they block on the other team, and lead the return man in the direction he's going. The wedge against the wedge buster is one of your classic confrontations on a team, and again, for the fan, he ought to watch the 2 players on either side of the kicker and the 3 or 4 men on the wedge. The single most important element of our entire kicking game, we feel, is punt protection. That may sound like a negative. You're trying to keep a mistake from happening. In a normal situation, you have to get a punt away in 2.2 seconds. We allot 0.9 for the snap, and then 1.3 for the kicker to handle the ball and get it away. So 2.2 is the time. I would much, much rather have a punter on our team who could kick 40 yards regularly, but hang the ball in the air 4.8 or 4.7 would be good. 5 seconds flat, that's very good. One of the most important men on the field goal or PAT protection team is the wingback on each side. He has a difficult responsibility. He has to seal his inside gap first, but he has to seal it in such a way so at least he doesn't remove his leg or remove his hip or remove his shoulder so that a rusher can come through the area he's vacated. If the wingback becomes totally concerned with closing down, he leaves himself very vulnerable to a good skimmer. The middle rush is a relatively recent innovation in blocking field goals and extra points. The idea on the middle rush is for the interior people to drive very hard to get movement backwards of the offensive line so that one or two leapers, fellows who have good spring in their legs, can get close to the kick, catch the ball while it's still on the rise, and therefore block it. The kicking teams are called bomb squads and suicide squads and kamikaze squads. I think in large measure it's a little bit of picturesque speech and patter. It is not just a matter of people going out and having a brawl between offensive and defensive plays. It may look like mayhem once the action starts, but there is a discipline to it, there is a plan, there are proper techniques that you can execute, and the teams that are successful in the kicking game area are those who do master those techniques.
For every situation in pro football, there are 2 points of view, the offense and the defense. This clash is highlighted when the action nears the goal line. A field of 100 yards is compressed into 5 yards or less. Elaborate offensive designs generally are scrapped in favor of simpler tactics built around brute force. Seldom does so little yardage mean so much. As we discover the significance of the goal line, it will be necessary to first turn off one of your sound tracks. On audio track 1, Marv Levy will discuss the goal line offense. On audio track 2, Don Shula will talk on goal line defense. So switch off one audio track, then at the completion of this section, replay the chapter and listen to the other point of view.
There are plays in the game which are weighted more heavily than most other plays in the game. And on the goal line, this is certainly the case. You've come a long way to get to pay dirt, and now it's the moment of truth. You don't get that many opportunities in the game, and you've got to pay off on them, and your team has to have the mentality that they're going to get that ball in the end zone when they're down there. It takes a great mental toughness on both sides of the line of scrimmage at that time.
Third down, goal to go, Kansas City for the touchdown at the 1. 15 seconds to go. Everybody up there. Pitch to Reed around the left side. He fumbles the ball. A Seahawk, no, still loose. Seahawks driving on it. Still a loose ball, and finally, Seattle recovers. Seahawks win it.
Most teams in the goal line are going to go back to your old Neanderthal football. You're fighting for a yard per down or for inches. They're going to come in with 2 tight ends, and they'll usually use power running backs in the backfield. Some teams will go back to the old Model T, 3 backs in the backfield. Teams are seeking to muster maximum strength, maximum power, maximum size. When you attack the middle, you're just hitting in there in the most direct manner you possibly can, trying to outmuscle an opponent. So you take the most conservative, inch-forward type of approach that you can get. Preventing defensive penetration is extremely important. The key really is prevent penetration by the defensive lineman so that the back is close enough so he's not taking off from so far back that he's easy to find, he isn't gaining the desired distance. So preventing penetration is of great importance. Usually a linebacker is told to go up and kiss the hurdler. In other words, put face mask to face mask is the only way he can stop it. The defense is mustered and has to be thinking run first. They have to stop minimal gains. Therefore, if you can simulate one of your basic running plays very closely and have a pass play which strikes very quickly off of it, your chances for success are there. You've got to do it in a situation where the run is at least the more likely play, not where it's a 50-50 or less possibility. Play-action passes are a very important part of every team's goal line offensive scheme. Great feelings of confidence are inspired in a team by virtue of the success they have in goal line and short yardage situations, offensively and defensively. The winner comes away believing, and they're more confident, and they tend to seize momentum, and it can even change the momentum of a game considerably. I think more than anything else, and there are a lot of important things, a back who is determined, doggone it, I'm going to score. That's the single most important thing down there. He has to be blocked for and all of that, but there are some guys who are going to get themselves into the end zone. That's really the most important single factor.
So it's down to this one play, 2nd and goal from the 7-yard line. The Oilers must score a touchdown. A field goal will do them no good. It'll be decided at the goal line. Dan Pastorini, the quarterback, hands off to Ronnie Coleman, running wide around his right side. Breaks the tackle at the 5 to the 3, the 2, fights his way, touchdown Houston. What a brilliant effort by Ronnie Coleman. Houston has won the game 20-19.
Hey, let me give you a kick. All right. Hell of a run, Ronnie.
A goal line stand just gives a defense a tremendous emotional lift, and sometimes turns the momentum of a ball game around for the offensive football team as well. The thing that we preach to our goal line defense is that if they can make it happen down there where it's tough, if we defensively can come up with a great goal line stand, sometimes this is the determining factor in the outcome of a football game.
3rd down, goal to go, Kansas City for the touchdown at the 1. 15 seconds to go. Everybody up there. Pitch to Reed around the left side. He fumbles the ball. A Seahawk. Now still loose. Seahawks driving on it. Still a loose ball. And finally, Seattle recovers. Seahawks win it.
Many times in a goal line situation, defenses commit themselves to the inside gaps and stop the inside running. This is an effective way to keep the team from making a first down on a quarterback sneak or the fullback plunge up the middle. Basic alignment for a goal line defense is for 4 defensive linemen to be in tight charges with the 2 outside linebackers committed. The danger is if the offense gets outside. If you get a great runner outside when everybody's committed inside, you've got the possibility of a touchdown down near the goal line. First thing that has to happen on a goal line defense is that the defensive linemen and the linebackers get good penetration. They have to get down into the inside gaps. They have to get penetration so that the back that has the football can't leap and hurdle the line. Both lines are down low going after each other. And if the defensive line doesn't get any penetration, then the back is going to come up behind him and leap over the top and get the yard or the half yard that he needs for the touchdown. But if you get the penetration, that means that the leap has to start back further a yard or 2, and the middle linebacker can react and try to leap from behind the defense and cause that stalemate and keep the offense from scoring the touchdown.
When a defense gets into a goal line defense, they become vulnerable for play-action passes. If the offensive football team decides to risk it and go play action at this time, it's a tough play for the defense to do because they're so geared on stopping the running game down inside that 5-yard line. In order to be effective in a goal line defense, you have to have low, hard-charging defensive linemen and linebackers, shoot the gaps and keep the runner from going over the top. And if you do this, you're going to stop the running play, and if it is play action, you still got a chance that your cornermen can beat their receivers and stop the play action pass. Great runners seem to smell the goal line, and somehow, some way, they're going to get into the end zone. At times, there seems like there's no way that you can defense against them. There are some great goal line runners that just refuse to be denied. Ronnie Coleman in 1975 was one of these runners in a big play against the Miami Dolphins. He was hit several times behind the line of scrimmage near the goal line, but somehow he managed to break tackles and get into the end zone. Of course, I was unhappy with our tackling, and in this situation, we had the shots, and if we're going to play the great defense, we have to be able to come down with them. But Ronnie had made up his mind that he was going to somehow get into the end zone, and he wasn't denied. It was an outstanding run.
Once again, it's time for you to demonstrate your skill. As before, the questions will be located on audio track 1 and the answers on audio track 2. Be sure to use the special capabilities of your video disc player because they will help you discover the answers to the following questions. What type of blocking scheme is the Denver Bronco offensive line using on this play? What type of block is the offensive guard number 66 throwing here? Name the style of blocking used here by the Dallas Cowboy offensive line. The Minnesota Viking quarterback is looking for an opening in the Dolphins' zone defense. What is this opening called? Based on the depth on this pass route, how deep would you say the quarterback set up to throw the ball? Who is to blame for this kick being blocked? And what is the term used to describe the man who blocked it? What type of blocking pattern is the return man running behind on this kickoff return? Why was the Dallas runner able to score on this play? And what is the term used to describe his action? The Broncos are using base blocking or man-to-man type blocking. This is a trap block. The offensive lineman pulled and blocked someone who wasn't directly over him. This is influence blocking. By bluffing an outside play, the tackle and guard take advantage of Washington's reading defensive lineman and create an inside opening. Number 10 was looking for the seam, or the lateral space found between defenders in a zone defense. 3 to 5 yards is the normal depth a quarterback will drop to throw a quick-out pattern such as this. When the wingback closed down too much, the skimmer was able to block the kick. This is a wedge, a moving wall of men who lead the return man in the direction he wants to go. The Cardinal defense failed on this play because there was no penetration. Thus, they were unable to kiss the hurdler in midair and drive him back. To participate in the next event, you must first display the frame numbers that appear in the upper left-hand corner of your screen. Then follow the directions that will appear. Display the frame numbers now. In this video disc presentation, we have presented tips on how to expand your ability to watch pro football. You have seen where a game plan is born and the early stages of its development.
Right here, the thing you're doing on the snap of the ball is I'm checking the blitz right here.
You've seen an actual playbook and felt the intensity that is drawn on its pages.
We can win it. It's going to be a dogfight, and regardless of what happens, just hang in there together.
But hopefully, you've learned to detect the clues that will enable you to understand and enjoy this complex and fast-paced game even more. So use and review these guidelines, for they'll help you to understand how to watch pro football.